Hey, what's up, comrades? Hope you're all doing great. We're here to talk about Fairy Tail Volume 39, which picks up with Lucy in a nightgown. It's so excellent. Okay, no, it actually picks up right where we left off with them opening the Eclipse Gate. So we get some bells. It's July 6th to 7th. It's like, I guess it's midnight, so it's the passing of the day. 7th day of the 7th month, which is exactly 7 years, I think, since the dragons disappeared or something. And then Makarov's like, all right, let's get ready for these dragons and whatnot. And everyone's talking about how they're feeling okay, they're doing all right. And then there's like an eclipse in the sky that Lexus points out. And then we get more shots of Lucy being hot as shit and the Eclipse Gate opening up. And then we go back to Rogue and Natsu, and they're talking about the gate opening as they continue to battle and fight. And they're bashing each other and showing an anime battle. Fight. And then Shadow Rogue like uses like a super move to be even more powerful, and he hits the shit out of Natsu with like he calls it like White Shadow or something. And then he tells Natsu, when Natsu questions that, he talks about how he, as Rogue, killed Sting and absorbed his powers, so he's got the light and the black dragon powers or something like that. And then he's about to like get him even more, but then all these bubbles show up, and that's because it's dun dun dun, oh tear, and she does like her time manipulation magic, knocking Rogue like the fuck out of there. He transports out of there. So then Marudi comes over to Hilmatsu while Uter is like taking care of him. We then head back up to Lucy, and she's standing there thinking about everything about future Lucy. And then she's like, oh shit. And so she starts running towards the gate, and she's like, we got to shut this shit right now. We can't open this door. And so she's like screaming at the princess and talking about how they got to close the door and how it's problems. The princess tries to stop her, and then she's trying to explain what's going on, but dun dun dun, all of a sudden a giant dragon like steps out through the gate, and it's like, yep, it was all a trap. If you haven't figured it out, that Rogue asshole, he caused this whole thing to happen. The dragon roars, knocks everybody back, and takes off, and then like blasts a huge like blast. And dragons in this world are fucking ridiculous, right? Which makes dragon slayers like even more impressive. And then like more dragons start popping out, and then Lucy's like, hey, we gotta shut this fucking gate right now. How do we do it? And the princess is like shocked by everything that's going on. And Lucy's like, wake the fuck up, let's do it. And then we get panty shot Lucy once the princess tells her what to go. So she heads over and runs over to this thing to shut the door, and then she gets knocked back, and she keeps going and pressing forward, and she grabs this thing, and she's trying to close the gate, pulling this thing, and it's like not working. And she's pulling, and people are trying to like finally putting it together that this whole thing was like a trap essentially to get them fucked. And the princess is like crying because it's all her fault. And Lucy's like, why can't I close this goddamn door? And she keeps getting knocked back, and then she keeps running forward, and she's like, I'm going to live enough for me and future Lucy. And then Natsu finally gets up. He's like, I gotta go. I got a promise to keep to protect the future. Right? It's badass as hell. And so all these dragons are like escaping, right? And then Lucy's trying, but she can't do it on her own. So Yukino finally like shows up with Mary Jane and is like, we got this, pull your keys out, let's go. And so they use the 12 Zodiac golden keys, and then they almost kiss in my headcanon. But no, they just hold their hands and summon all the celestial spirits, which is super impressive because, you know, we have learned that even summoning one is taxing and summoning two is like ridiculous, right? And so Lucy can already summon 2 or 3 at a time, which is like impressive. But now her and Yukino are summoning all of them, all 12 of them. And then we get like a sexy shot of both of them with their boobs pressed against each other. God, I love this anime I love this fucking thing so much. And then all the celestial spirits come, and they're all pushing the door shut. And then Lucy and Yukino are like exerting all their mana to give the celestial spirits even more power as they finally slam the door shut. And it's closed before like the 10,000 dragons could get out. But then someone like Aketio's like, how many dragons got out? And it's like 7. And then we pop down to Rogue, who's now standing there, and he's like, 7 is more than enough. And everyone's like, the fuck are you? And he's like, listen to the masses. And they declared the age of man at an end. Now begins the age of dragons. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's apparently mastered some sort of spell that lets him control dragons in like the 7 years in the future. Like it's the secret spell to control dragons, dragon supremacy magic. And then this dragon like hops down, and he hops up, and they ride the fuck off. And then we see Zirconis, who's the wind dragon from like they resurrected to like speak to about the dragon times and about from the dragon graveyard, right? And Wendy's like scared to shit of this guy, so she's like frozen. And then we start bouncing around the city. So I'm trying to remember this dude's name is Atlas. That's his name. Atlas Flame. He's like a pure fire dragon. Like he's made of like pure flames. He lands by Fairy Tail and then starts blasting them. And Makarov's able to like protect people, but people get like injured. And then there's like this Razor Dragon lands by Sabretooth, by Sting and Rogue, like real Sting and Rogue. And then Blue Pegasus gets attacked by like Rock Dragon, And then everyone's trying to like fight these dragons, but they can't do anything to him. Like Kagura, Jura, no one's doing any damage to him at all. And then we see Rogue like laughing and riding the dragon up top, and then he sees somebody and he's like, who the fuck is that? And it's Natsu. Natsu's like, I'm going to get your ass. And so he like leaps on, starts fighting Rogue on top of the dragon and stuff. And there's like fire breath, and they're going back and forth, and they're running up and down. And then we bounce over to Fairy Tail, and Makarov hits the Flame Atlas dragon with like all his power, and it does like virtually nothing. It just burns his hand. And it's like, fuck, we're in a lot of trouble. And even like Rogue and Sting, who are dragon slayers, right? They're the mask guy. I can't remember what his fucking name is. He's like, oh, you guys got this. You both killed dragons before. And then they're like, well. Yep. Sting, his dragon, was like, hey, I want you to become a true dragon slayer, and to do that, you have to bathe in the blood of dragons, so I want you to kill me. I'm not going to fight back. And then Rogue's like, oh yeah. And then my dragon, Skidaram, he was like already dying, and he's like, can you help me kill myself? And then the lightning god guy is like, what the fuck? And like, so we've technically never killed a dragon. Like these are pretty impressive. We then learn from Shadow Rogue, he is up there talking to Natsu, and then he's like, oh yeah, the whole 10,000 dragon thing is a bullshit. What happened was Lucy, the original Lucy, she shut the door. So the dragons came, and then she shut the door, but it's still like all her friends died and everything. And so she came back to prevent that from happening. But that timeline was created at that juncture because she went back in time. And in that timeline, Acnologia became the only dragon, and he ruled the entire world. And so that's where Rogue killed Sting and then came back in time so that he could capture a bunch of dragons, and then he was going to use those dragons to fight Acnologia, right? By using his power to control all of them, so he can be the king of dragons and whatnot, and the sole ruler of the world. Because after he takes over, he's going to become, the king of dragons instead of Acnologia. And so then they jaw jack a little bit, and then finally Natsu's like, oh yeah, fuck your dragon. And he does like a super powerful attack and knocks this dragon like almost out of the sky. And then he starts screaming to everybody. He's like, there's 7 dragon slayers in the city, and there's 7 dragons. So each dragon slayer needs to go fight a dragon, and together they're going to be able to do it because the dragon slayers can hurt the dragons. And so you may be bad at math, but I'm going to help you out here, because everyone in the book is also confused because they're like 7 dragon slayers. And so we see Rogue, Sting, Jalil, Laxus, Natsu, Wendy. And you're like, that's only 6 dragon slayers. And at some point before this, Natsu's like, oh, I smell 7 dragon slayers. Let's go hunting dragons. And then we get a shot of all 6 of them. So we see Natsu blasting the shit out of this dragon again. And then we see Laxus, Jalil, or Gajil, Wendy, Sting, and Rogue. And then somebody's like, wait a second, there's only 6 dragon slayers. And then we bounce over to Mast. I'm trying to remember what his actual name is. Anyway, the 2 guys who work for the council, and the guy's like breathing real heavily, and he's like, I did it. I pulled the guy out. And it's like, do you know what to do? And then we look up and we see Cobra. You might have forgotten Cobra. He's probably a member of Orisian Saints. He's the poison dragon slayer who fought Natsu, and he has... he's super powerful. And so he was in jail, prisoner code name, or prisoner number 100,977 or whatever. He's like, I heard it all, Natsu, I got this. And so 7 dragons for 7 dragon slayers. Badass, dude. It's fucking badass. And we found out this dragon that Natsu's beating the shit out of is called Mother Glare. And it's Mother Glare because she creates a whole bunch of like little tiny dragons, not even dragons, like almost like little monstrosity dragons. Like they look really like almost like, they don't look like aliens, but it's kind of like that. Like they have like no eyes, and they're very scary looking, and everyone's like, holy shit, what the fuck? And then Laxus like runs up, because all the fairy tale stand, they're like, holy shit, what are you supposed to do? And then Laxus runs up and punches the shit out of Atlas, and he's like, we got this. You guys kill the baby dragons, and we'll take care of this. And then Gajil, you got to go off over there. And then Wendy's already got her dragon, and we'll be good. And it's like, all right. So Fairy Tail starts rushing this Atlas dragon while Laxus is fighting it. And then Sting and Rogue, they split up. So Sting stays with like the sword dragon, and Rogue runs off. And he's like, oh man, this is the best. Like Sabretooth is taking a major change. Now we're here to protect our friends and not be assholes. And then we have a hilarious scene with not Blue Pegasus. Wait, is it Blue Pegasus? Yeah, it is Blue Pegasus, I think. And they're like, oh shit, we don't have a dragon slayer in our guild. What are we going to do? And then the main guy, God, I forgot his name. He, with the perfume, he's like, I will use the most powerful perfume. And it's the perfume of like his his armpits, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's awful, it's so powerful. And the dragon's like, I don't have his nose, so I can't smell foolish humans. And they're like, oh, we're fucked. But then Cobra like lands on this motherfucker and is like, take this, asshole. And everyone's like, is that Cobra? The poison dragon slayer? And that's what in the previous book, when Jalil went and talked to these guys, that's what he was telling them. He's like, hey, we need another dragon slayer here, so go get him. And they're like, all right, should we help fight? And he's like, yep, let's do it. We then pick back up with Natsu's continuing his anime, shonen anime battle with Rogue and with Mother Glare, I think is her name. And then we bounce back over to Zirconis. So we got Lucy, Yukino, the Princess, Arcadio, Mary Jane, Wendy, and the cats, or the Exceed, if you will, Panther, Lily, Carla, and Happy. And they're all standing off, and Wendy's like, you remember me? And the guy's like, I don't remember shit about you. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right, we resurrected him. And then he blasts everybody with wind, and everyone's like just ducks under it, and they're like, oh, we're fine. And then we look over, and all the men, like all the guards, are naked, and it's like gross. And like Wendy's like and then the guy's like, I hate clothes, they taste terrible, but humans are delicious. And then Mary Jane is like, I've never seen such a horrible sight in my entire life. And even like the old man minister is naked, but Arcadios is not. And so they all start running away, and the dragon's like, oh, I don't even like men that much. You know what I like? Women. And I'm like, hell yeah, brother. And he's like, I got this. And he finds the best looking woman in all of Fairy Tale. And it's Lucy, obviously. So he blows her clothes off, and it's like, yes. And then him and Wendy go back and forth, and then she's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And he's like, whatever. So then we get more shots of Lucy being absolutely naked. We everything's covered, right? We get to see her back, and then we see her, like, the dragon picks her up, and then Wendy and Mary Jane start kind of like going at it with him, like, and then we almost see tits and vag with Lucy, but it's all covered up by like dragon, by like the word bubbles, and also her hair, and also the dragon's like claw and stuff. But Mary Jane transforms in demon form, hits it, and then doesn't do anything, obviously, because she's not a dragon slayer. But then Wendy, like, it was a distraction, so Wendy could go up, and that finally gets Lucy out of her hands, and then Wendy, and who's being carried by So Wendy and Mary Jane are going to start fighting this guy. Meanwhile, Natsu's beating the shit out of Rogue, and they run back and forth. And then Natsu's like, wait a second, what is that? And he turns, and it's naked Lucy. And she slams right into him, and Rogue's like, the fuck? And they both end up in this bell, and they're like rolling around. And Natsu's like, he's like, I can't see, because his face is like in her breasts, her dry breasts. And so they're rolling around, and then they fall out. And then she's like, he's like, why are you flying around with no clothes? And she's like, stop looking. And so he puts his hands on her breast so that he doesn't have to see, he's not seeing her tits. And she's like, normally people cover their own eyes. It's so good. And then finally she gets some rag to cover herself with. But then they're like jaw-jacking about what's going on, and about Zirconis, and about the dragons and everything. And finally, it's like, why are you naked? Because he was going to eat me, something, stupid ass dragons. And then Natsu's like, wait a second, I have a great idea. And he grabs her, and she drops her claw. So we get naked Lucy one more time. Oh, God bless you. God bless you, volume 39. We then pick up with Urza, who's fighting these dragons, but she's beat the shit out of him. And we get like a conversation with her and Kana, where Kana's like, man, you really should like relax, because your leg's all fucked up. And she's like, maybe I should have listened. But then she gets saved by dun-ta-dun, Jalil, hooray. And so he picks her up, and at that same time, Millennia comes walking up, and she's like, Jalil. And it's like, ruh-roh. Meanwhile, Natsu is flying with Happy. They abandoned my poor precious Lucy, who's got like a brand new, exceedingly sexy outfit that was given to her by her maid. And she's like, why are those guys always being so fucking crazy? Because that's Natsu for you. And then she looks down and sees her notebook. And she's like, what the fuck? My notebook? And she's like, wait a second. This isn't my notebook. This is future Lucy's notebook. We then pick up with the Raijin crew, who are fighting with Laxus against the Atlas Fire Dragon. And, he's like blasting him with lightning and stuff, but he's a fire dragon. So it doesn't, my Hellfire can burn away any magic. So he's a bad matchup. Like, he could kill this dragon, but he's just a bad matchup. So he's like, God damn it. But then Natsu comes popping down, and he does like a super fire attack on him. And he's like, I found you. And he's like, who do you think you are? And he's like, I'm Natsu. I'm not, my name's Natsu. And then he tells Laxus to go help Wendy out, because he's going to eat this dragon. He's going to eat this dragon because it's made of pure fire. And Natsu eats fire. And Laxus is like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, I got this. And they're like, all right. So they head out. And then him and the dragon are going back and forth, and he's trying to eat him and suck up all his fire power and stuff. And then let's see. And you make me angry, something. You're eating my puny human. How are you eating my fire? Something. And all of a sudden the Atlas Dragon is like, wait a second, this feeling, it can't be. But the feeling is just like the Fire Dragon King, Ignil, who is Natsu's father. So... and so he's like, Brett, what is your connection to Ignil? And then Natsu's like, Ignil? He's like, that's my dad. And then we go back up to Mother Glare, who's with Rogue, Shadow Rogue, and he's like, I will rule the world, something, something, I can kill Acnologia. And we see all these shots of people fighting the dragons like Cobra and Sting and Wendy and Gajil's, playing, and he's like, I got this. And then all of a sudden Natsu's like, I got you, motherfucker. And he turns and Natsu is riding Atlas the Fire Dragon right at him, and he slams into Mother Jelly. He's like, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, how are you riding a dragon? How dare you betray me, Atlas Flame? And Atlas Flame's like, I will follow my own heart. And like, I was able to resist your dragon magic because this is the child of my master. And he's like, thanks, big guy. Or he says, thanks, mister. And he's like, mister. Fucking great. And then we get like a little timeline, which is, it's very good. It was helpful because I was a little confused, not going to lie. And it's like, this is where this started. Then we had the first feature, and then the first feature is where Future Lucy came from, and then she changed that. So then that affected the second future, which is where Rogue came from, and then he came back even before she came, and now we're in the new future, so we'll see what happens. All right, so then the Fire Dragon is fighting Mother Glare, and everyone's talking about the magic. Like he's the dragon's able to overcome like the dragon mastery thing, so that he can fight. And so they're battle. Fight, and then Natsu's fighting Rogue, and he's like blasting his shit out of them, and everyone's looking like, holy shit, those dragons are fighting the shit out of him. The king's all sad hippopotamus about it, and everyone's fighting the little baby dragons, and then we bounce around a lot between all the different dragon slayers, and they're fighting and having a hard time, and he's like, god damn it. And while the king's like thinking about everything, and then Shadow Rogue is like having like an argument with himself, and then actual Rogue has like a battle with his shadow, the Shadow of Darkness, and he's like, no, I will resist. And at some point, Urtir is like where she's so fucking hot in this shot. But she's like she's watching Rogue, and then she's thinking about like her, Natsu, and Marudia had this conversation about like, well, if this is all because of Future Rogue, maybe we kill Rogue now and that'll do it. And he's like, no, that is not how we do things here. We cannot do that. We cannot like, have a future made in blood. Like we can help Rogue. This Rogue didn't do anything, so that's fucked up. And then Urtir's like, no, I must kill. Rogue must die. And it's like, dun, dun, dun. We then bounce back over to Jalil, Urza, and Miliana. And they're arguing about protecting Jalil, how he killed their friends and all this stuff. And then Urtir rolls up and she's like, I killed them. I commanded it. I'm the one who got the tower going. That's the kind of woman I am, because she's having like a real crisis of like, I tried to be good. I tried to the sorcery thing with Jalil and Arudi, but at the end of the day, I'm just a bad person. I thought about killing like Rogue in cold blood, essentially, because I can't think of any other thing. And I'm always going to go back to that. And there's a lot of back and forth with everybody talking. And then we see Kagura, who looks like she was about to pull her sword out to kill Jalil, and she starts thinking about the same thing, right? And she's like crying, or I don't think she's crying. I think that's just sweat. Okay, so she's listening in on this conversation as well, and she's thinking about what Urtir is saying. And Urtir is like, hey, if you want to do something about it, Miliana, come find me afterwards. But right now is not the time. We got to take care of this. And then she thinks more about how she's going to murder Rogue and how Natsu is right. And what's the point of her being alive if she's just always going to revert back to this? We then get Sting running up on Rogue, who's kind of finished fighting with his demons, and they're like, we're a team, we got to do this as a team, we're going to twin dragon fight this motherfucker. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And so then they team up, and then we go back to her chair, and she's just like thinking about stuff and thinking about what a joke everything is. And then we pick up with Juvia, who is so Marudi finds Juvia and Gray and Leon and Sharia, and they're all jaw-jacking about stuff. And then Gray notices that Juvia is about to get shot by one of these like dragon guys, and he pushes her out of the way, and he gets blasted, and then he gets like torn up. So he's dead. And so Juvia's like freaking out and crying and screaming. And then Urtir, and then like we just get shots. So like everyone's like beat the shit up. They're all injured. Like other people are dying. It looks like Romeo's dad is going to die as well. And then Sharia's missing, and Juvia's just crying because Gray's dead, and Leon's crying. And then Urtir, it's like things are going really bad, right? Even though things looked like they were coming up, they kind of weren't. So then Urtir is like knelt down, and she's thinking about how Gray saved her, and like he's dead now, and there's no way for her to atone for all her sins because she's like a bad person at her soul, and then thinking about all that. And then she thinks about this time when she was like a teenager or a young woman, and how she was studying this time magic called Last Ages. And she was talking to Hades about it, and she's like, "Oh, I learned this thing." And he's like, "You never cast that spell." And it's like, "Why can I never cast this spell?" And it's like, because the cost of it is your life. Like, you gain a little bit of time back, but then you die, right? It takes all your time away. And they're like, "What is time? Time is your life essence." And she's like, "I don't want to do that." And she's like, "I do now." And so then she, casts Last Ages and strains all her energy. And she's like, "All right, now everyone's saved, finally." And then she like looks up at the clock after she does her spell, and it like tears all her life essence out of her and whatnot. And she got like 1 minute of time. Oh. And she's like, "I paid my life and I only saved a minute. Fuck. I haven't done a single thing. I haven't saved a single person." But we then find out that 1 minute was a super big fucking deal. So because they go back in time 1 minute, and then everyone like remembers that minute of time. And so like Gray's able to dodge that attack, and him and Leon are able to team up and destroy all the dragons that killed them. And he's like, "I remember that. What happened?" And then like Romeo's dad doesn't get caught in like the collapse, and the other guy who died doesn't die. And we get this whole thing where it's like everybody in the whole world, because it reset 1 minute for like the whole world, right? It wasn't just like this little bit of time. Like everyone felt it, but some people didn't. Some people recognized it and some people didn't. And then we get shots of like the Bacchus guy fighting and not being dead, and like all this other stuff, and like Jill knowing like the attacks of the dragon so we could get them, and then Cobra's doing better, and then Laxus and Wendy are winning, and then Rogue and Sting are starting to win, and it's like everyone's like, "Oh, for like an instant there, I knew everything about like what the future was going to hold." And then the book ends with, and that 1 minute that Oter got became the catalyst for humanity's counterattack. And so she sacrificed her life, and it changed everything. And that is what you call fucking excellent writing. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, and join me in a couple weeks when we hit up fairy tale number 40. Have a good one. Bye.